It feels like April showers, so hopefully we'll get some sun soon. But thanks for coming out to tonight's meeting. To let everyone know, prior to our board meeting this evening, the commissioners met with our solicitor in executive session for a personnel matter. And after our meeting, the board will be meeting in executive session with our solicitor to discuss a litigation matter. So to start off this evening's meeting, we have a presentation of commendation for Chief SCIRROTTO. Chief.
So let's hold on 1 second before we do that, and get rid of our echo.
On the lowest setting.
Don't we need to mute the speaker on that one? Yes. So in the bottom of,
Hi. It's muted.
It is muted.
It's a little thingy.
It only started doing that last.
hear it now. Was it better?
Good, sounds better. There you go. Carry on.
Because the song that I have prepared to sing today was gonna be really popular.
I don't hear it now though.
Yeah. I can't wait to rewatch this portion of the video. Good. Commissioner Curtis, let's say proceed.
Are we ready? Okay. Chief, I can't believe we're here tonight and we're doing this. Okay, it's been a long time. I knew you since before I was in this role.
Yeah.
And your whole family, right? And the same with Vice President, Commissioner CANALE, right before we were in this role. So tonight, I have a little something prepared, and a few gifts for you. So I wanted to tell you, from the moment you were appointed in 2019, you had a vision and a plan for Moreland Township Police Department. I had to write this down. I hope I don't get tearful. I'm an emotional Italian girl. Your community policing model, building a community policing model, increasing safety and initiatives and safety and security initiatives for our residents and our schools, as well as making sure everyone knew the officers at LMPD. Everyone knew our officers in our township, in our community, in our schools. That was so important because before that, officers didn't walk through our schools. Officers didn't come to events. When I first met you, I was just a mom, and we started 5K walk runs. You were anything anybody needs. You were always right there. You were engaging in the police department, engaged with the mom, you wanted to make sure everything and all the kids and all the community was safe. It was so nice, and it was refreshing. How did you do this? You did this by making sure you and Lieutenant Smith, as well as all of your officers, were present in our schools and our community and at all of the events, like I just described. Your other vision and mission was to have Lower Moreland Police Department become an accredited police department. When you took the position as chief in 2019, you worked on this tirelessly from 2019 to the present. As you advised, a pandemic. You have accomplished so much for our township, and we thank you for your leadership. Some of the initiatives, I started listing them, that you implemented. Most recently, the Corporal Program, Defense Tactic Program, the Bike Police Unit, the K-9 Unit. We had one, now we have two. School Resource Officer Program, we have one at the high school, and soon to have a second at Pine Road. These are all amazing programs. The Bus Stop Buddies Program, the Chaplain Program, the LMPD Citizens Police Academy. I never went through that. I went through Abington's. I'm going to have to try hard. The LM, I heard that. The LMPD internship program, the Biking with the Blue, the Ice Cream and Water Ice with the Cop, the Phil Abundance Food Collection, the Drug Take Back Days, the Women's Self-Defense Workshops. I signed up for that. It was awesome. The LMPD Holiday Pack a Car event with Toys for Tots. All these programs make our community better and engage with everyone involved. You made sure LMPD attended all our township community events so that children, parents, and everyone get to know our police officers. Our Halloween haunted drive-through, our Earth Day event, our egg hunt event, our movie night under the stars, our Lower Moreland Township and Lower Moreland PD Pine Road second grade tour, our Lower Moreland Township and Lower Moreland PD open house event with the Huntington Valley Fire Company. The kids and families enjoy all these events so much. You are always here for all of us. I think also when we first met, you were always involved and engaged, even in the Safe Schools Committee. And I know everyone is going to miss you. You're like an octopus. Your tentacles were all over. And I know you're only going to be right down the road. And as you said, you're still going to be involved with the SWAT. And two of the programs that were in place that you still continued was the SWAT program and the Coffee with a Cop. But those were two programs in place, and all those other programs are what you, Lieutenant Smith, and your team of amazing officers have built for our department and for our community, and we are really blessed. So there's a little gift that I put together, and again, I'm getting better at electronics. So, and I hope you treasure this. Okay, this is from the entire board, and it's a little snapshot of everything that you have been involved in.
Thank you.
And then we have another little gift for you. Hope you love that. And it says, presented to David SCIRROTTO, Chief of Police, Lower Moreland Township. Thank you for your over 30 years of dedicated service to our community. Never underestimate the difference you have made and the lives you have touched. 1992 to 2024. Thank you for the 32 years.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you all, I appreciate it. I already got upset in the command meeting, so I'm gonna try to keep it together tonight. You know, I appreciate all the support over the years, especially from the Board of Commissioners as it exists today, a few board members that we had in the past. You know, you talk about all these programs and stuff. All Lieutenant Smith and I did was, you know, our part in getting some of these things off the ground. But the thing that made our department different was all these men and women here who came up with half of the programs that you listed, if not more. Sergeant Huddick and all the work she's done. Kelly Heiss isn't here, but Biking of the Blue was hers. Morgan, I can't think of the number of things that you did. You know, Kermit's handler, Sierra's here. So he's pretty popular. You're popular. But you know, it's been a lifelong journey. It's been the greatest honor of my life to serve a community of 15,000 people. Means the world to me, and it's hard to say goodbye, but I'll do my best to still be around for anyone that needs me. So I just want to say thank you.
Picture. Everybody. Picture of everybody.
Let me get in the picture.
That would be good. Yeah. Why doesn't the word stand up behind us?
We'll put you right in this.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Put me in the middle. This is the first where I'm asked to be. Standing up.
Maybe the stool.
Really, parting short joke.
Here, I'm gonna give you the bag so that it's protected, okay? And this, we just have like a little box, so let's pop it in there. Yeah, there we go. Protect it. Wait till you see this stuff. And typically look at those pictures, you're gonna be like laughing. Yes. Thanks, Chief.
Got a picture with some of my people, is that right?
Go for it.
You could just give it here with that. Okay, thank you, everyone. The next item on our agenda is the Internal Affairs Committee. It's chaired by myself, Denise and KURITZ. So we have review and consider the minutes of April 9th, 2024. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments regarding the April 9th, 2024 minutes? Like to make a motion to approve the April 9th, 2024 minutes.
Second.
Motion was moved and seconded to approve the April 9th, 2024 minutes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? No opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you. The next item on my agenda is review and consider the May 2024 bill lists. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments regarding the May 2024 bill list?
I asked a couple of questions earlier of my review. So, I think the only thing that I would want to bring up at this point, which is kind of ironic that I'm not here, is they sent Officer Sareve for some leadership training. So I think that's a great step in what our team tries to do. So the rest of it is normal stuff, but I didn't know.
Absolutely, thank you. Commissioner Housing, anyone else?
The snow budget of 28%, that means we used 28% of the budget, correct?
Yes,
And specific
That
to
was-
overtime.
yes, snow overtime.
Yeah,
We
That
have
was-
regular time budgeted, we have overtime budgeted, and we have salt.
yeah.
So that's just a review of the overtime.
That's good.
Yes, it could still snow in December.
That's the comment. But we're having rain in May, so. Okay, anyone else before we move on? If not, I'll make a motion to approve the May 2024 bill list.
Second,
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve the May 2024 bill list. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Next is the administration report. Manager Hoffman.
Thank you. So just a few items to call out for this evening. One is that we are, some of our staff had other commitments for this evening, and particularly Chief Showmaker is attending a firefighter graduation ceremony. But I did want to acknowledge that now, after missing the last meeting, the board having approved the intergovernmental agreement for, the chief position. We have an emergency services committee meeting on Monday of next week. And our goal from that is now we're finally out of kind of the administrative week, where that is a process led by the managers, to now kind of turning things over to Chief Showmaker. So we'll begin including the chiefs of each Huntington Valley and Bernathen fire companies at those meetings. The agenda will be set by Chief Showmaker. And our goal is that after we kind of build consensus from the committee level, is that the chief's monthly reports then will start to focus on some action items that are things that are coming out of that committee level. We hadn't been able to get to that because the agreement was not in place yet. So I'm thrilled to kind of make that shift now from how things have been operating. So I would expect to be able to provide incremental updates beginning in that June meeting.
Just
Yes.
on that point, so as we move forward with the evaluation and the process, will Chief Showmaker continue to update us on, you know, at this venue on how things are progressing, maybe challenges that we may be facing, you know, through that process?
Yes, exactly that. So there's some items that will just be standard, like monthly operations reports. Being able to take some of the things that have been asserted throughout the process by different individuals and putting data to that. So some of those things may fall just under the standard monthly report. If anything is a specific action item, we will bring those as specifically listed items on the agenda.
Okay. Do you, as far as you know, or maybe we can talk about this when Chief Schumacher is back next month, is there, he started with the 30, 60, 90, he had a set of objectives to accomplish. Is there a similar list for the now newly formed department, maybe distinct from what he was ramping up to do?
So that's a good question. So at this point, I think as compared to some of the specificity of that, because that also generated out of his interview process, that I think we'll identify those types of things by the communication that will now happen directly with the chiefs of each organization involved. So I don't know if it will follow as tight of a schedule as the 30, 60, 90, but I think the goal will be to have specific items to report on. If it's response metrics, the individuals who are actually responding to fires compared to those that are listed as volunteers. Also the EMS pilot program that was authorized for this year with the different funding components. All of those things that required some earlier than what we otherwise would have requested authorizations, being able to report on those so that everything follows a much better methodical system. And then also just calling out that our Valley Center Summer Soccer League, which is less concerned about, it's a great program for high school students, but less concerned about that component and more just from a budgetary perspective. That is how we raise the funds necessary each year to set aside into our future turf replacement reserve. So that program is scheduled to begin in early June and is having strong signing already with the contractor that we use for that. And then I also wanted to follow up on one item just from the March meeting. The last time I was here, we had a public comment asking what funds had been allocated so far or spent in relation to the board reapportionment appeal. So while that is active litigation and we can't provide a kind of a status update on that, I did go back from January of 2023 through now, and just the cost exposure to date is just under $15,000. The bulk of that was just incurred as a result of the depositions that recently happened. So just wanted to give that number specifically to the board. It's just below $15,000. And that is what I have for this evening, unless there's any other questions.
Thank you, Manager Hoffman. Does anyone have any other questions for Manager Hoffman? Thank you. Assistant Manager E.J. Lee.
Just one thing,
Anything?
we applied for a DEP 902 recycling grant for $200,000 for a truck, a chassis, and a leaf machine. We should expect to hear something on that probably November of this year, so that we can have something in place for 2025.
Thank you.
And is that for a leaf machine?
For
Or
the
is it
com-
for like another recycling type of?
It's for a leaf machine that gets attached to a truck so that when the township goes around during leaf season to collect, it'll just be one additional machine that we have that's manned by one person. And I have extensive research on the chassis and the leaf machine. I could operate it. So Steve's gonna let
And
me.
we'd like to see that.
And yeah, but it's for the compost site that we have at the Public Works.
Does anyone have any other questions for Assistant Manager EJ Lee before we move on? If not, thank you, EJ. Next is our tax collectors report. So do we have Jane Sale, our elected tax collector?
So I believe she is on. However, Jane reached out to me today by email because she does not have a voice. So asked that I do my best tax collector impression on her.
Okay.
So just the quick summary is that the face collection is at 90%, with actual at 88%. So that means the bulk of the payments that come through the mortgage companies arrived for April. So that's tremendous progress. Notices will be going up because the face due date is June 14th. So if somebody has not paid already, they will get that notice. And then just our outstanding numbers on the real estate tax side is $629,921. And on the trash side, the outstanding amount is $124,950. So overall, that's really good progress for this time of year. We'll see the next batch come through with people who pay in the face due date period, which usually gets us to that 96% total, which is what we budget. And then anything that comes in that end of year penalty period often brings us well over that 96%, which is why our revenue projections tend to work out nicely.
Okay. Everyone okay with the tax collector sales report? Thank you, Jane. We hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Let's see with Tony. Both went very well. Next, Lower Moreland Township Community Events was held on Friday, April 19th from 4:30 to 6:30. That was at Lower Moreland Park. Thank you to all the commissioners that made the time to stop by. The Public Works Department, LMPD, Sergeant Julia Huddick, Officer Kata Blanco, and Corporal DeSanto, as well as our Honey Valley Library, our Lower Moreland Township Summer Recreation program, along with our volunteers, students, community, families, and adults, and children and adults of PAC 802, help clean up trash, plant trees, and install birdhouses. Just to recall for the board that Act 802 painted some birdhouses on Martin Luther King Day. And the kids were really excited to finish up and take care of, what they wanted to do was install them around the park. So that was, one project. Public Works is going to finish installing them around, all of our parks. So there's quite a few. There's almost 50 of them. I think we installed, what, 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we installed about 6.
Yes.
So it was a really great project. Everybody had a great time. We gave out a goodie bag. If anyone didn't get one, please let us know. We'll deliver one to you. Contact your commissioner. It was a great day. The park looks great. So thanks to everyone who helped, especially Public Works, who is right there all the time. Our next event is for tomorrow night. It's an environmental workshop, and it's a journey to backyard biodiversity. It's going to be tomorrow, Wednesday, of May 15th, 6:30 at the Heinz Valley Library. Registration deadline was May 1st, but do we know how many people we have? Leah?
About 25.
Okay, great. So Katie Fisk is the presenter from Briarbush Nature Center, and she is going to talk about why native gardening is so important and how to guide us through the process of helping us reach our goals, our native planting goals, and start our journey for a native garden. So that's really exciting. Next, just to report that the Huntington Library had their fairy tale trail in Longmore Park, and it was nicely attended. I just want to touch on this. HVA Friday Night Lights game was postponed due to horrible rains that night, and I was advised that they're looking for a new date. And all our fall events are scheduled. And that concludes my agenda for this evening. So it's way in advance. I touched on the last one. So no need for that. Next, the chair recognizes Commissioner Mueller, Chair of the Community Development Committee.
Thank you, President Kurtz. The first item on my agenda is review the sketch plan for the application feedback request for Olympia Holdings, and that's 22 Tomlinson Road. And then I'd like to remind everybody that the sketch plan phase is not a voting phase. It's an opportunity to solicit feedback from the board, from others, and to hear a little bit about the plan. I would call this a pre-sketch plan, a pre-sketch plan. So with the unique nature of this, the request was really to allow the applicant, representatives of the applicant, to come in and talk a little bit about what they're proposing. So at this time, I'd like to, I'm assuming the applicant or representatives of the applicant.
Yes.
I'd like to invite you to present on what you're proposing to do, so we can hear a little bit about this project.
Absolutely.
So Jen, if you want to go to the podium here.
Yeah, so I have the team here with me as well, but I'm sure we can call them up as needed. It's my understanding that we had emailed plans in, which can be placed as a slide format on the screen.
So we did not receive anything today. Are you able to send it on that I can forward to?
Would you be able to send it again right now?
And I should clarify, if it was sent after 4 o'clock. So yeah,
I believe we sent it. There you go. But,
Can you
okay.
send it to me?
Oh,
I can all let you know.
No.
all right. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Zen Jin. I'm an attorney. I'm here with Mr. Bader, who's the managing member of Olympia Holdings. And it is their project here for 22 Tomlinson Road. That's the parcel that we're talking about tonight. So we have come forward and met with the staff of the township a few times with regard to this proposed project. The proposed project is a mixed residential project with a community center as well, being proposed as a overall project for the parcel. The parcel itself is currently zoned for trailer park structure use. It's a special, I believe it's MU I think it's PUC, I don't have that in front of me at the moment, but it's the only lot in the township currently zoned for that use, which is for essentially trailers. And what we had proposed with the staff is more of a residential use, residential mixed use. And after looking at our plans and discussing and going back to review what we hope to accomplish with this parcel versus what is permitted under the current zoning, our feeling is that the best way for us to be able to kind of reach what we're looking for versus what the township, the various township zoning code would permit, would be to request a rezoning of this parcel to RM3, because under that zoning category, our proposal, which we hope to have on the screen in a minute, would be essentially by right in the fund. We have gone back with our team to look at the size of the lot requirements, the flow of the lots, total unit counts, and various aspects that is permitted under RM3, and have designed it accordingly to be able to meet that. If we were to go forward, even with a text amendment of the existing zoning district, it would be essentially rewriting it very similar in a way to RM3, so it wouldn't make sense to do that. That is, and a variance request based on the existing zoning would be extremely difficult, in that we would be triggering a slew of variances. And as you know, the law on variances are very strict when it comes to hardship. While the lot itself could be used for arguably the existing zoning of trailer homes, it has not been developed that way, and it's unlikely that someone would want to develop it into that in the foreseeable future. My client is very interested in developing this into a residential mixed-use lot with the addition of a community center on the one corner of the lot. So looking at the plans, and I think Herschel, you can probably be best to explain how many units and how the lots are laid out here, and how many lots we have.
So basically that is the sketch plan that we put together. So the road A is the public roadway. It's a 50-foot wide right of way that is going to be an access point from Tomlinson Road. And then on the outer perimeter of the proposed road, we have basically twin homes, single family homes all along the outer periphery. All right, and how many? There's a total of
20 twins and 5 singles.
20 twins and 5 singles. Four singles. And in the inner loop, we have like a quadruplex sort of structure where the middle units are single family and the exterior units are going to be triplexes. So it's going to be an apartment on each floor, 1, 2, and 3. So 3-story structure. They are bigger lots on the exterior, as you see, for the triplex in the inner loop.
How many triplexes in the inner loop?
4.
So 12 units?
Yes.
So how many total?
12 units for apartments and 5 single family homes.
20 twins, 4 singles
On the outer loop,
on the outer loop.
on the inner loop, it would be 12 apartments and 5 singles.
5 singles.
Single homes.
Single family.
So total 9 single
Well,
homes.
they're attached, right? So it's a single family structure, but it's attached.
Right.
Yeah, it's attached. Attached.
Everyone's.
Sorry.
Yeah, so 10 structures. And here's the chart breakdown.
Right, so we have a color-coded breakdown here. Mark, would you want me to kind of help direct you? Yeah, because I think you have the numbers down very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, so we have a little chart here. So everything that is orange is 1/2 of a twin. So that is a single family. The blue is a townhouse. The red is a triplex, the green is a larger single family. And then that gray blob is the multifamily building that we have out into the front.
Right, so that, yeah, so mentioning that, if we can zoom back out, on the upper right corner of the parcel, on our sketch plan, you'll see a structure, that's a proposed, essentially it's an apartment building. And Mark, how many units proposed in that upper right building?
18.
And it has its own parking lot. In fact, what is the parking setup for all these buildings, including the single family houses? They all have their own parking?
That's true. So the twins have a garage and a driveway, so they can get 2 cars off property. The larger single families have a 2-car garage with a larger driveway, so they can get 4 off-street parking spots. And then in that middle ring, there is a shared parking lot where each twin has 2 dedicated spots. And I believe each triplex, I think 3 triplexes have 5 spots, including a handicap spot for each one, and 1 has 4. So there is above the color-coded chart, is the parking breakdown on how many commercial spots we have, how many multifamily parking spots we have, and how many single-family parking spots we have.
Are there visitor spots as well?
So the streets will all have street parking. So on both sides of the road, there is street parking. We did not count up exactly how many we can get there. We've been going back and forth on the plan. Once we pin it down entirely, we can give you that number as well, how many off-street parking spots there'll be, but there should be ample amount.
So are you telling us that there is another, besides the 59 units you just gave us, there's another apartment building you're?
No, the 59 is, the multifamily building is included in the 59 number.
Okay,
So it is 59 total. There's no
Total
more.
59
units.
units.
Dwelling units, yes.
And the community.
Correct.
And
How many square foot is the community center?
4,800, I think.
it's 4,800.
And how many stories high?
Currently, it's expected to be 1 story high. That's it. We're not putting additional stories on it. And the community center, as you see, has multiple parking spots as well. I believe it's at least 20.
When you say community center, is that for the community or just for the people in that community?
No, it's for the whole community.
Like Lower Moreland Township?
You're gonna open your community center?
That was the, that was the original plan. However, I do want to caution that when I read the RM3 code, a open community center may require its own special exception or variance. That's one thing that I did discuss with my client. If my client, if you could. So this is Mr. Bader, Bader. What was the original idea behind this community center? It was, you guys wanted it open to the community. You wanted to welcome people to kind of be part of the community that you're hoping to develop, correct?
Correct, yes.
But we did discuss that there might be restrictions based on the zoning district. And certainly that is something we have to consider, and certainly I'm sure the township would have to consider as well. But the original idea was to make it open to the township and make it a community center where people can gather.
Just curious, are you aware of our natural features?
Yes, so basically, if you could go to the plan, there is a stream of water currently going through our property. If you could zoom out on the stream.
This plan. or
Yep,
is it-
yeah,
Right there.
that's the story.
So that dark band,
That includes the setback. The street is not that large.
Yeah, so basically that is a 100-foot wide buffer right along dead center is going the stream. So that is going to be the landscape area / the features of the property. And that is the natural pathway where the water passes through. It's gonna be undisturbed when we do this development. We intend to keep it as a separate lot for parks and recreation.
How many acres is the?
It's about 29,000 square feet. It's about half an acre. Give or take.
Total property. Total lot.
Total lot?
Yeah.
Total lot is it's 10.4 acres.
How much open space is will, if building this will be left as open space.
Okay, so I have that breakdown. Could you go to plan 3? The site plans. Yes, yeah, if you could zoom in on the lot 20, I have that area there. Right where right next to that single family home. I think it's 22% plus like 3%, so roughly 25%. It's gonna be open dedicated space.
Will there be a path, or say people want to, they live in without having to drive to the community center?
Yes, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, so there's two paths. There's an existing pedestrian bridge over the creek now that we're planning to reuse and repair as required. It's walkable now, it's just a little weathered. So we're planning to fix that up and connect. And then also along the higher side where the creek goes into essentially a storm basin, you can get around on that side too, and there's an existing path. So we have one along the eastern property line, and one is gonna go in between two sets of those twins. I think it's in between lot 22 and 23. And we'll have a path. I'm sorry, if you can go back to the first sheet. Zoom out just a hair.
This is 22 and 23.
Yep. So you can see that we have a path that goes in between them. That leads directly to the community center.
Can you scroll down, so the community center has street access to Tomlinson also?
Correct. Yeah, with the way that the creek cuts across the site, we really only could get to the residential area on that far left-hand side. And then we use this leftover triangle to create the multifamily and the community center that would be more street focused.
And there's 2 structures there?
Correct. The heavy gray are the structures, yes.
And they're
What's the
both
one on
part
the
of the
right?
communities.
No, one is the community center, one is the multifamily building.
That's what we said.
Is the multifamily age restricted?
I don't believe so.
So at this point, we haven't, we're looking into the possibility of whether this will be more for adults, seniors versus just any age group. I know my client has gotten feedback from the staff about the issue with the school district having a lot of the students. So we are considering the possibility the apartment would be, you know, if a senior apartment is more welcome to the township, that's something we can certainly entertain. My client can work with his partner to make sure that can work for us as well.
I can speak for myself. I would definitely like to see it age restricted at a 55 plus. I believe that there'd be less of an impact on the community as involved.
The entire project or?
I would love the entire project, but at least that multi.
At least the apartment.
At least the apartment. Understood. Thank you.
And in order to go through with this project, we would have to rezone that area.
Yes, this is as you pointed out at the top, this is a unique approach, as the property owner being here, after all of the conversation we had as a staff, kind of the next way to do this was to at least introduce the concept to the board. Anything that they're describing at this point, it's a very complicated zoning exercise of either a map change, a significant text amendment, if they chose the zoning hearing board path, several variances. The code does not really foresee exactly what they're proposing. So that's where the goal was to present broadly what, as the property owner, they were interested in, and be able to get some kind of initial baseline answers to be able to give guidance to the property owner and to staff as to what, if any, continued conversation about this concept should happen.
Has there been any stormwater planning yet?
Yes.
Yes, so we, if you could go to plan 3-4. So we have, as you see, right where the entrance is, roadway A, if you can zoom in on that open lot. The lot, right, yeah, right there, that will be the dedicated for an open basin. That would be approximately 5 feet deep, which will capture all the stormwater on the south side of our site going towards the Tomlinson Road. So that is for everything that is south of the creek. Everything that is gonna be for north side of the creek where it abutting Tomlinson Road is gonna have an underground basin, which will capture all the water for the community center and the apartment building. And basically all the utilities will be routed towards Tomlinson Road. We have performed some preliminary calculations, and that's the size of the lot that we would need for stormwater basin.
And that's for 100-year?
Yes, yeah, the calculations was conducted on 100 years.
We have 100-year storms,
Well,
couple of times.
every other year.
Yeah, every
Do you have a plan for trees and, landscape plan?
Yeah, so I mean, we intend to do landscaping towards the rear of the proposed structures. Of course, we haven't presented on the plan yet, but
Right, you're at the very beginning here.
yeah,
It
that's.
looks like you went a little bit further
Yeah,
than
thank
you
you.
even had to.
Can you explain a little bit why, why you're pursuing this type of a project versus what the space is currently zoned for? Why you chose to go in this direction and not a different direction?
So my client, and their company has, had more experience, obviously, with this kind of residential development. They've done other developments in the past. The part of this also goes back to the congregation that they are part of. There are a lot of individuals in the congregation that has approached them, asking for the possibility of them developing a residential neighborhood for members of the congregation as a possible place for them to move to. And that conversation led to the idea here of moving forward with this particular proposal, mainly because that's what the congregation's feedback has been to them as developers. They would like to have a residential option. And in fact, I know his partner is not here tonight, but during the meeting with the staff, the issue of children came up. And while we understand, of course, anyone with a child that's living in the township has a right to send the child to the public school, of course. In their congregation, predominantly, the children tend to go to private school, and that's because of their religious beliefs, not because of any other reason. But it is because of what their congregation and their wants and their desires that was presented to my client that led to this idea that is before the board today. Shagai, could you affirm that my representation on that is correct?
Yes,
Thank you.
just a couple of questions. You're asking to have the whole property rezoned to what classification?
RM3,
RM3.
yes, residential mixed use 3.
Okay, and the RM3, you've looked at it, would permit all these uses, but maybe
The community
the
center.
community center, maybe there's some extra.
Correct.
And the current zoning is, what's the zoning?
It's SPC I'm sorry, Marty.
I'm gonna look it up, because it's a mouthful.
It's the-
Manufactured company.
Yeah.
Okay, but, and council called it trailers, but manufactured homes and mobile homes are a little bit different than
Right.
the term trailer, but aren't there other uses permitted?
Yes, there's like 30 to 40 financial institutional care type, healthcare
So
type.
there's other, I mean, it's not just zoned for trailers.
Right, right.
There's a
Commercial.
lot of other options in that zoning district. Other developments, you said that you built, can you provide the township a list with other projects that have been built by the group that you're talking about? I mean, not tonight, but just after tonight.
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
And I think it's important for everybody to know what, I mean, there's been some interaction with the staff. A request to do a zoning map change, a zoning ordinance change like this, is purely discretionary with the board. I mean, it's a legislative, it's not like a conditional use or a special exception or a land development. You can't even go to land development unless, it's rezoned. Which involves a lot of notice, it involves public hearings, so, I mean, this is the request then, and the request is, because we haven't reviewed this for compliance, I know, is Frank on?
Yeah, so Frank's on Zoom.
I am.
Yes.
We do have great comments.
Yeah.
And each time we would meet with the applicant, the plan would revise to some extent. So being able to provide the board a review letter, we simply weren't able to, I think, provide something that would have been productive for tonight's.
Well, that's why I think we.
So maybe both can weigh in.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess the other question that I had, maybe it's for you, Manager Hoffman, is, with the current zoning classification, if we were to change this, what are the implications of, we're taking this zoning, that's where this land sits now, do we have to create that someplace else in order to satisfy other requirements? What are the implications of if we were to consider change?
Sure, and John, if there's any territory that I get into that's better for you, stop me. But generally, we're dealing with needing to provide for any and all uses throughout the township. So anything by doing a standard map change, that would zone certain uses out of the township. So I think if the direction from the board at some point is to work with the applicant to figure out some agreeable path forward, I think it would be some sort of hybrid approach where you would be taking some of the development criteria that exists in other districts, but needing to be mindful of some of the things that are particular to this site or the sites around it, so that we didn't put the township kind of at a point of weakness by having taken something away that needed to be at least provided
Back someplace else. I don't know how we would address that.
So if I understand correctly, you're saying at some point in the future, we deem it necessary to develop what this lot is currently zoned for. If we don't have it available in the township, then we might be in a position where we can't support that.
Well, it may, here's the issue, this is, and it's not a simple yes or no, but this is the only parcel that permits mobile home parks. And there are legions of case law in this state for the last 40 years about municipalities that did not provide for mobile home parks, were challenged, and mobile home parks were built because of this rule that the courts have established in this state that you have to provide for every use, every reasonable, you have to provide the opportunity.
Yeah.
So the question here is, if you take this away, does that come back to bite you somewhere down the road? Because you've now eliminated the opportunity by rezoning it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've litigated that precise issue where property was rezoned. Developer came in and said, you don't provide for this use. And, it could go either way, depending on the community, depending on your comprehensive plan. But that's the risk with taking away mobile home park zoning. And usually developers who make that challenge, they don't really want to build mobile home parks. They just want higher density. So the deals get struck that way. I think this county's been developed with a lot of those cases. With municipalities that didn't provide for mobile home park zoning. So that's why, and this zoning was done before I was involved with the township, but that's why that's there. To deal with that, sort of like billboards.
Yep.
And cell towers and all those other, uses and quarries and things like that, the courts have said you have to provide the opportunity. There's not a rolling obligation, but you got to provide the opportunity. So that's a consideration that the board's got to think about with any kind of rezoning like this.
Yeah, Frank, I see you're on the line. I don't know if you wanted to make some comments, and then I'll ask if anybody wants to make some.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I think the discussion occurring right now is kind of where I was heading myself. The township solicitor makes some really good points about making sure that, we provide for all uses within the township. The two options, it was talked about, one is a text amendment, one is a rezoning of the land. Coming from a planning perspective, you're looking at a single tract of land here. You have industrial to the north and to the west, Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia to the east. You have RS4 residential district to the south. So you have a lot of kind of moving parts here that need to be considered. But if the commissioners decide that this is a good use, then I'm kind of thinking it might be better to take a look at it from a text amendment point of view, instead of a complete rezoning, from a planning perspective, right? Still need to look at all of the land development, issues, stormwater, transportation, infrastructure, water, sewer, all those items. But, so this is this was stated earlier as a kind of a unique, parcel in the township, and it's really the direction of the board. Do you want to, rezone the land, or you want to do a text amendment? You want to run the risk of losing certain uses within the township that, as the solicitor said, that may come back in the future and create problems. So you have some, some big issues that need to kind of be discussed here.
And maybe I'll jump. Maybe I'm kind of in that I don't know that we're looking at a plan or a path for rezoning or a path. I think what is being asked of the board this evening is that there's an applicant, a landowner, who would like to use the land differently than what it's on today. They would like to have a higher density residential development on this piece of ground. And I think the question for the board to digest, distill, ponder, I don't think we're making a decision tonight, is do you think that is in the best interest of the town? Is that something that you guys would support? Is this a good use of this piece of property? A higher density housing component here. And if the answer is yes, well, then bring that question or that answer back to staff and planners, and we can come up with a path forward. All those things, if you have stormwater and, guest parking, environmental impact, all those things will fall out of the further discussion. But I think the basic question tonight, higher density housing on Tomlinson Road. Yes, no, I think that's as basic as we can be.
Well, I think it's a little bit more than that, because I am concerned about loss of a particular use, and if there's no other opportunities within that in the township, then I think it puts the township at a risk. So, and so unless that can be answered, there's some compelling reason to move away from that. And because it sounds like it's a big effort with a bunch of other risks that are involved. And, so I would probably want to see something that would be more within the current zone.
I have to say that it's impossible for me to make a decision because this is the first time we're seeing the plans. And I still don't have a good feel for who's where, who's what, and who's how. So I apologize, but I can think on my feet, but I can't see.
I'd like to see it, something nice in that space, but I think there's more questions than there are answers at this point. That concerns.
My biggest concern is the age restriction. It would need to be in place for me to be on board with this at the current state as it's designed.
I don't think we can risk losing the current zoning unless we can identify another piece of property.
Right.
We could possibly run the risk of having a curative amendment filed against us that would open us up for a legal challenge. I just don't think that risk is worth it for the township. So that's what I'm.
If the current zoning is concerned, because obviously the language of the current parcel for that zoning has certain uses that are permitted, that would, based on my prior discussion with the planning commission, the idea there would be then we would probably have to go look at text amendment options to add our proposal uses into this district. So then you wouldn't lose what is there on the language of having that parcel still being available for the, in theory. I mean, once it's developed, obviously, in practice, it may not be available, but the use availability would be still within that zoning district. We'd be going down a different path, which, we thought that the easier path, based on our understanding after reviewing our plans and what we were given as feedback, was that a rezoning might be easier. But we're not, my client is not against the idea of moving forward perhaps with text amendment if that would accomplish the same goal without risking the township facing an issue that was brought up earlier by, Council Rice. So, you know, we are, again, we're here tonight because we want to at least present the basic idea of what we're looking for. Even we were not 100% sure what is the best avenue to achieve it.
Well, I mean, this is the opportunity for this, right? So this is the format to do this, and so, you know, it's an opportunity to get, you know, comments from everyone, but from my perspective, you know, I would like to see, you know, something that's within the current zoning and more of an ask of a plan. Because, you know, I hear a lot of different options, and I think to Ruth's point that, you know, there's a lot of different moving parts here, and it's like, well, it could be this, it could be that. We'd have to do this, but maybe this might be an easier path. But I think pick a path and present a path to us that we can make a decision on.
We rezoned the country club for residential from commercial before. We got extremely lucky that we were able to change it to age appropriate, as Joe talked about. We would have got crushed as a township if that didn't happen. I would be. There's no way personally that I would be on board with changing any type of zoning. Residential on the property.
Without age restriction?
Age restriction. Without an age restriction?
With it, no, if they put an age restriction on, would you still consider that, where you're just.
Possibly, depends on density. We're about to build, well, we're not. They're about to build 200 and some apartments diagonally about 100 feet away from this property.
Yeah.
It's a one-way road on Tomlinson Road. It's just too much of a burden on the township. They wouldn't be responsible, I don't think. That's my view. Age restriction, I have to look at the density, but I couldn't support rezoning for residential.
I know density.
Especially for
Unrestricted.
unrestricted age. Period.
Do you have any questions you want to ask us?
It's a lot of different types of housing with the community center on the property.
Yeah, well, the idea was to present kind of a almost not self-contained community, but something that feels like its own community when they develop. Again, based on the background of the people that kind of support the idea for my client, that's why they approached it this way. I think from our standpoint, we understand the various feedback. So if we were to move forward again with a age restricted, for example, density is of course going to have to be looked at again. And then we come back to the township with that proposal. I guess we would be going back with staff first and then ultimately move towards perhaps if a text amendment is a possibility to make it work. I will certainly look into that. But yeah,
I mean, I think at this point, what Tim said, does the board want to rezone that parcel for any type, whether it's a text amendment or a zoning map change, or more intense residential development, since it's not permitted there at this point, except for mobile home, manufactured home park. So, and you're not interested in that use or the other commercial use. So, you know, instead of you spinning your wheels and doing more plans and doing a, you know, age restricted type of use or project, I mean, that's, and there's not going to be a vote tonight on this, but it's a discussion that the board's going to have with staff individually, you know, to see whether there's any support from a majority of the board sitting up here to move forward with any high density residential development at all.
Right.
Because either way, a map change or a text change involves amending the zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
For that parcel. And there's a lot of other activity going on along Tomlinson Road, you know, which they've got to take into consideration. They've got to take into consideration losing the mobile home park zoning, you know, what that could possibly do. You don't have that use in your community, could end up anywhere. Anywhere where there's 10 acres, there's probably a 10-acre minimum. But it could end up anywhere. You know, and that's a, that could hurt. So, I mean, my suggestion, Dennis, I mean, the board's got to have some internal discussions with staff, and then we can give feedback to the applicant.
But I think you've heard our concerns, and before we conclude tonight, I do want to invite if there's any comments from the public, whether present tonight or on Zoom, to have an opportunity to weigh in.
Would this be, I know it's not in Lerda, right? It's not in Lerda.
No. Is there any comments? Hello? We have our public.
Oh, yeah.
Unless everybody wants to slide in. You understand the drill, your name and your address.
Mark George, 2414 Dale Road. I would like to thank the commissioners at this point for their direction anyway. I think something like this is just going to compress the density that we have now. We're not kidding ourselves about the schools. We're the breaking point. I was gonna say about the mobile homes, I kind of resent that at that being brought up initially as to frightening us. That's the original zoning for that. Well, so be it, and we need it supposedly. I don't see that there's a good path for this. This parcel, to the best of my knowledge, was gifted to the township.
No.
Well, initially, that was
Before this one club?
before you were born. It was owned by Bud Company.
We started so good.
It was owned by the Bud Company, and after the war, they didn't need that property anymore. To the best of my knowledge, they gifted it to Lower Moreland Township, and then it evolved into this swim club. So you need to know that, and I don't think I'm too far off with the origin of that parcel. It's a shame it was lost. However, you know, with the folding of the swim club, and somehow or other, the township lost the ownership. But you should keep that in mind, that it was once ours.
Mark, I pulled the history on that. I never saw ownership in the township. I actually looked at this parcel extensively. I researched it in the public records and rights. Never did I see any indication that the parcel was owned by the township. Just to clarify.
In 1954, back to Valley Club of Huntington Valley, and they held it until 2010 when they were forced to divest.
So it went from Bud to a private ownership, just to clarify with you, it never was township property.
Okay, well, whatever, that's.
What is swim club?
That it was.
Oh, yeah, I'm a bond member. So, we're still waiting, but anyway, that's the,
Me too.
that's the skinny on that. It was, to the best of my knowledge, somehow or other involved. Would be right. All right.
Are there any other comments? So just to wrap this up, is there any more comments from the board? Yeah, so I think you heard our comments, you heard our concerns. And, you know, I think, you know, the next step would be, you know, back to you to come back with something else.
Understood, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on my agenda is the building officials report, and I'll invite Jill to come up and give her report.
Hello, so this month,
There were 70 permits, 66 were residential, 4 were commercial. We had 126 inspections, 6 UNOs. We're getting a lot of grass complaints right now, so we're sending out letters for those. And then the main planning commission is the BBT apartments for the fine. So that'll be here on the 23rd. And
Be at the high school. Right here.
The planning commission meeting is going to be here. Once we have BET and 106 library at the same time, the board meeting will go to
Did you say grass complaints?
yeah, high
Happy
density
spring.
watering, so
What is the standard?
so 12, excuse me, 12 inches.
What about the whole environmental no mow May thing? Are you familiar with that?
No.
No.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, it's.
Some communities have embraced that concept, yeah. Communities that have, I guess, certain permits.
That's right.
Yeah. Sometimes.
All right, well,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Are there any questions on the?
Go to November. you got it.
Yeah. Just to wrap up my portion of the agenda, so, there was, I have 2 liaisons, one is for, Pennypack Ecological Restoration Trust, they had no meeting that month, and there's no meeting planned for the coming month. And then the planning committee, as Jill mentioned, will be on, May 23rd. That concludes my.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair recognizes Commissioner Canale, Chair of the Public Safety.
Thank you, President Kurtz. The first item on my agenda tonight is the Pearson Forcer Earl Tower financing options. Staff solicited quotes from several area banks for a municipal lease to purchase agreement for the Pearson Forcer Earl Tower in the amount of $1,100,000. The balance will be paid in cash from the township equipment's reserve, which includes the chassis prepayment total and the subsequent amount due when the truck arrives. Following 3 proposals were received for a 7-year loan. TD Bank interest rate at 4.68. Santander's Bank interest rate 5.16. Univest at 5.92. Upon review, I would like to make a motion to go with the TD Bank at the rate of 4.68% to finance the Pierce Enforcer Aerial Tower.
Well, before we, okay, any other questions?
Sure, go for it. I'll skip that whole portion.
It's okay. We're all.
It's a Chris.
It's an awkward time of year. I don't know.
Can you just put on the AC? It's all right, I promise.
Anyways,
Fired up.
are the other, I don't know what to call it. Are the other items compensatory? Can we prepay without paying TD on this one? Or is that different from the others, from TD Bank to Santander to Univest?
I think all of the terms are the same. This follows the same schedule for the TD Bank. The TD was who we did the other lead purchase issue with, right? So if, I guess the question is, if we were to prepay, which I don't know that we would be in a cash position to do that.
Yeah, right, because we're already putting $1 million down.
Okay.
That's a big deal.
So we need to, the board's policy in your fire tax fund is to set aside $150,000 a year annually into your equipment reserve.
Okay.
So with the money that we got from Westrum, as well as what has been set aside already. And looking ahead, where next year we're going to have to do a second one for the engine, which we are mostly prepared for, but not all the way. And so the subsequent conversations with the borough and with Bernathen Fire Company, who have separate divisions, I guess we will know sometime early next year as the financing plays out. But we would not be in a position to prepay this. That said, the reason that we're suggesting the 7-year loan instead of a 10 is that over the life of that loan, it's $85,000 less in interest. So this gets us closer to kind of the base rates based off of what we're putting down, and then financing less over a shorter duration. And with what we've set aside, we could do this entire loan by ourselves, no other collaboration necessary. Prior to this year, we had never had a conversation with Huntington Valley about the engine coming due next year. So we had not really incorporated that into the plan. We have the bulk of that ready to go. We finance 100% of it. And then the goal would be through the committee process and the collaborations with the borough to come up with a better plan than what I've described.
So that is the plan.
Yes. Sounds like it. Any other questions from the board? Anything from the public?
I had a question.
Come on up, Chuck.
Topic day 2472 downriver. Chris, if I understood you right, Lower Moreland's financing this whole ladder and engine, correct?
So as of today, absent anything different happening, yes.
So
But
we're
we,
gonna-
we don't foresee that being the case, but right now we need to prepare as if we would do this ourselves.
Right, so we're gonna happen as of today, did offer? Or,
We've started the discussion, but nothing has been filed.
and do you think that they will contribute, or do you think the taxpayers of Lower Moreland will fund this bill?
Yeah, so I guess the independent of any of this project of collaborative services, you as the Lower Moreland Board of Commissioners have the obligation to provide fire services, and right now your fire company to do that is something valid. You are the sole financer of all of the equipment that they have ever purchased. So absent any collaboration, you would be doing the same thing that you have done for the history of all of that apparatus that has ever been purchased. The taxpayers of Lower Moreland would fund 100% of what is being purchased. So this is the first time we're trying to collaborate so that that does not have to be the case. But in the event that is the case, it is consistent with the way that all apparatus has been purchased.
Correct. But we have a situation now where we have one person overseeing both companies. And the financial decision that he's going to make, if he makes one, is does Bernathen contribute to the ladder and the engine? That's, I
So
don't
can I
think,
answer
Yeah, but
that?
that's his
It's
decision.
not his decision, Chuck.
well, if he brings it to the board, hold on,
No,
you gave
you asked
him,
the question. I'm
Okay,
responding
go ahead.
to you. Let me respond to you. So if Mark comes up, Mark doesn't have that say. That's with the Board of Commissioners and the Borough Council to determine the financing. And Bernathen Fire Company is their own independent 501c3. If they chose to donate towards this truck, they would have the opportunity to do so, the same as we do here at the township. It is our requirement to fund this truck, as Chris has prepared for it.
right,
We are able to go 100% on our own if needed. If we do get the collaboration, which I would hope that we would, then
right,
it will save our taxpayers money if Bernathen Borough or the fire company joins on.
so right now, we don't have that then.
As of today,
Okay.
no, there are talks in progress right now, but we're gonna see how that goes.
Okay, so we don't have it today, right?
As
Lower
of
Moreland's footing the
We're
entire.
going step by step.
Okay, right, that's all I wanted to know.
You
Right.
got
Okay, thank you.
it. Thank you, Chuck.
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, Chuck,
Any
that was
other
great.
questions?
Congratulations, bud.
We can do that.
Any other questions from the public on this? No, anything online?
No.
Sounds good. I'd like to make a motion to go with TD Bank at the 4.68% rate for the Pearson Forcer aerial tower. Can I get a second? There we go.
Motion's been moved and seconded to enter into agreement for the financing of the Pierce and Forcer aerial tower with TD Bank. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, next up on my agenda is the SRO MOU. And for those who aren't aware, SRO stands for Student Resource Officer. The school district, the Lower Moreland School District has indicated they will consider the revised memorandum of understanding, adding a second school resource officer position at their May business meeting. Funding for the position was included in the township's 2024 budget and will continue to be funded in a 60% township, 40% school district ratio. The recently certified civil service list will allow the township to hire an additional officer. So a current officer may be assigned to this SRO position for the next school year. The MOU continues all the same provisions as the original. It also doubles the district's annual capital contribution to offset capital costs, particularly for the SRO's vehicle. Finally, the second SRO will be based out of the Pine Road School. Is there any questions from the board on this? Chief, would you like to add anything additional to this?
No, unless there were some questions, I don't think so.
Can I just, a minor tech question, it says here. Support to hire additional officers or current officer may be assigned, would would we be within our right to assign the newly hired officer if you found someone that had that experience and that was someone that you felt was the most appropriate for that position? Like, would you be allowed to if you wanted to, or is?
We could if we wanted to,
Okay.
but that wouldn't likely be what we would.
I'm just curious how that might work. Thanks.
Any other questions from the public? Anything online? All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the revised MOU with the Lower Moreland Township School District for the School Resource Officer Program.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve the revised MOU with the Lower Moreland Township School District for the School Resource Officer Program. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed? Thank you, Commissioners.
Perfect.
You guys have it. Motion's passed.
And that's the Chief's report, Chief SCIRROTTO. For your final report.
Last
Yeah.
report. Something around number 50, some of them, 53, 54 report.
Oh, geez, you're putting me on the spot. Let me put it in.
A plus 48 is 50.
Great.
I did pretty good. Not bad for an Italian. All right, in April of 24. We interesting month this past month. We've had two reported assaults, a reported rape with an investigation ongoing, a third aggravated assault, and a disturbance up off of Heaton Road. A few thefts, only 2 thefts from autos, so that's good for us for a month as things have been trending. A few drug law violations, 5 DUIs. Let's see, several 3 warrant arrests, one for the PSP, one for Philadelphia, and one for Bucks County. Obstruction of justice case involving providing false ID to police officers. And that's really it for any significant crimes. We did solve a theft from January 11th where a business owner reported a former employee stole a company vehicle. They also wound up selling the tools from the vehicle. That was investigated and the warrant has been issued.
Didn't get any ideas for your review.
I will turn it in perfect condition. I promise. Unless the township wants to donate it to me.
We'll see you out.
You started. All right. Kind of has been my tradition. This was actually a great month as far as some of our work. Our officers did cyber safety presentations, twice this month. Once on the 10th, just the other day, and then once earlier in the month. They did a great job. It was well attended. The second session was more well attended. As many of you may have seen on the news a couple months ago, Officer Tom Rowland was awarded Officer of the Month. There was an investigation where someone tried to light a house on fire in the middle of the night. Tom was the first officer on scene, and as he was known from the basketball event as the Rocket, he was able to run down the offender and catch him. So we're pretty proud of Tom, and he was recognized for a great arrest. Girl Scouts came to visit LMPD. We had a great visit. I included a photo for the commissioners. Our officers were very involved in the Earth Day event, which had a great turnout along with the township. And then one thing that was mentioned earlier this evening in our executive session, and earlier tonight, we have been awarded a position as an accredited law enforcement agency within Pennsylvania. It's something that we've worked at for tirelessly, as has been said a couple times, over the last 5 years, outside of the pandemic and other things. Lieutenant Scott Smith did a great deal of the work on this project. We got incredible reviews from the commission and the assessors that came here. They were very flattering of the work that we've done, the culture that our police department has, the efforts of our officers and non-sworn staff. So we're really proud of that. And they will be presenting the Board of Commissioners with our accredited law enforcement award at their June meeting. So someone will be here from the commission for all of you. So that is my last report. Does anyone have any questions for me? Made it through tonight without getting teared up until I saw this guy.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you for your very good. Fire Marshal Shallot.
I'll do that one, Bob.
I'm the taller of the two. Real quick, there's a couple quick things real fast. I want to thank Commissioner Hassan and Commissioner Kurtz for attending the emergency management session on about the EOC. Thank you for your time for attending that. We did building inspector Steve Pilch, code and zoning officers Ted Middleman, Jill, myself and Mark went out to Lower Providence to the Arch Medical Facility out there. Our Arch facility is starting a production of a 3D printer with titanium powder that's extremely flammable when it gets to air. We had no idea how this whole thing worked. So we met with Arch Medical in Lower Moreland, and then we went out to their staff out in Lower Providence to see how this whole system is built, how it's used, how it's recycled, what it manufactures. We had a lot of good information to come back. So the permit was approved for down the street in Arch Medical, and we are starting the inspections to get that started.
Bob, have they had any incidents out of Lower Providence with this, any major concerns?
So far, so good. That's one thing that we were very concerned about, because the dangerous part is when the titanium comes out of the machine, gets recycled. And they make parts for your spine, your back, your wrist, your ankle. It's pretty amazing stuff. So we're working right with now with the permits and the inspection process. On the 29th of April, I took the daytime crew and from assistance from the Hatboro Fire Marshal, was also the captain of the fire company. And we did a full, complete building and fire inspection at the old high school. We broke it into two groups, took us about 2 hours. We did write up to 6 pages, but it's not what you think it is. A lot of it was just mostly general housekeeping. We found a loose railing here and there. Lance was extremely helpful with us. A lot of the stuff's been taken care of already. So we'll be back there in August for a re-inspection before the school opens up. And we started the inspection program this month. We had a inspection today, and we've got 3 or 4 more scheduled for the month of May. We also went down on Tuesday, April 30th, to pick up the Philadelphia Fire Channel 6 Home Depot Stable Light Program smoke detectors. We picked up smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors, and with a contact from Hatboro Fire Marshal, the Red Cross, we also got a donation on smoke detectors as well. So we're in pretty good shape for this year for smoke detectors. Any questions?
Anything from the board, from the public? Thank you, Fire Marshal Shallot. Chief Showmaker is not here this evening. Report is provided. It is in the book. He is attending a graduation for members of the fire company, I believe. Correct, Chris?
I believe, yes.
Tonight. So we'll catch him next month. That takes me to my liaison positions. First is the Civil Service Commission. We held a test, had a very large turnout, better than most of the surrounding departments, had some great candidates that came out, and we have 3 people that we are looking at to hire in the next month.
Yeah, we completed the background on 5, and we'll be offering 3 candidates next month's meeting. Lieutenant Smith will be offering 3 candidates.
There we go. That takes any questions on that? Anything on civil service? No, good. The next one is the library report. I have an update here. Wednesday, May 15th, the library has partnered with the township for a journey to backyard biodiversity. That'll be at 7 p.m. in the community room. Thursday, May 16th at 7 p.m. in the community room. Come hear about the local farms and seasonal food presented by Dave of Dave's Backyard Farms, which is a local shop right here in Huntington Valley. The library is having a fundraiser outing at the Trenton Thunder Baseball Stadium. Tickets are $11 for the July 20th game. The game begins at 6 p.m. and features fireworks afterwards. Visit the library website to purchase your tickets or hvlibrary.org. A portion of the sales all go back to donations at the library. The library will be closed on Memorial Day weekend, May 25th, 26th, and 27th. And then save the date. They are looking forward to a busy summer and will be holding a summer learning kickoff party on June 22nd from 1 to 3. More details will follow. That's all I have. Back to you, President Kurtz.
Thank you so much, Vice President CANALE. Next chair recognizes Commissioner Blanton, Chair of the Ordinance Committee.
Thank you, President Kurtz.
John.
So I have two items on my report for today. So first, an ask to review and consider zoning hearing board appointments. I mentioned last month, Commissioners Kurtz, CANALE and I, we met with a number of members of the community in search of alternates for the zoning hearing board. At the time, there were no alternates. There are three members of the zoning hearing board, and we felt it prudent to have a number of alternates should anyone not be able to attend. We found some really great candidates, and we're prepared to talk today and vote to bring in two of them. However, since completing those interviews, we received notice from current zoning hearing board member Eric Reyes that he needs to resign his position due to personal and professional circumstances. So based on the development and in communication with Commissioners Kurtz and CANALE, we received feedback and we determined to proceed with the following appointments in this month's meeting. So first, I'm going to propose a motion to add Ford Duncan as a primary member of the zoning hearing board. So he will act as a active member and will participate in all the meetings moving forward. With an alternate member of Christopher Odner to be our single alternate for now, until such time that we deem it necessary to have multiple. And the resolutions are attached for your consideration. Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Anyone on Zoom?
No.
All right, so I have two motions here. So first, a motion to approve resolution number 24-30, appointing Elton Ford Duncan IV to the zoning hearing board for a term commencing May 15th, 2024, and ending May 14th, 2027.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 2430, appointing Elton Ford Duncan IV to the zoning hearing board for a term commencing May 15th, 2024, and ending May 14th, 2027. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Thank you, Commissioners. The ayes have it.
All right, and then second, a motion to approve resolution number 24-31. This would appoint Christopher Odner as a zoning hearing board alternate for a term commencing May 15th, 2024, and ending May 14th, 2027. Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 24-31, appointing Christopher Odner as a zoning hearing board alternate for a term commencing May 15th, 2024, and ending May 14th, 2027. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Thank you, Commissioners. The motion's passed.
Excellent.
Back to you.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, so second item on my agenda for today, a review of the zoning hearing board agenda and decisions. So this month, the zoning hearing board will meet this Thursday. That would be May 16th. And there are 5 applications in the May meeting. The first application is number 24-10. This is the continuation of an application for Christopher Rowntree, 1525 Nicholas Lane, seeking a variance to allow a 5-foot high front yard fence where 4 feet is permitted. He's also seeking relief to permit a 224 square foot structure in the front yard where no structures are allowed. This is a corner property and it has 2 front yards. The second application number 24-12. This is the application of Igor and Vera Jari of 3628 Edencroft Road, who seek variances to reduce the front yard setback from 50 feet to 19.6 feet. The existing structure is non-conforming with a 32.3 foot front yard setback. And additionally, the applicant seeks to allow improvement in alluvial soils, which are considered floodplain. Third, application number 24-13. This is the application of Andre Levitsky and Maria Betson of 573 Phillip Road. They seek a variance to allow 41.97% lot coverage, where 25% is permitted to allow for a patio. Fourth, application number 24-14. The application of Armin Trosian of 3520 Greg Lane seeks a variance to allow an existing non-conforming deck to be rebuilt in the rear yard, which encroaches into the 25-foot rear yard setback. The property also has an existing non-conforming 34.9% lot coverage. And finally, application number 24-15. This is the application for Igor Zubov of 856 Robin Lane, who seeks a variance to increase the lot coverage ratio to 31.8%, where 30% is permitted construction of existing and new retaining walls, drainage system, and garage addition. A variance is also required to extend the garage horizontally along the non-conforming side of the yard setback. Any questions about applications for this month's meeting?
I do, Sean. I'll probably be joining you just to sit in for application, the fifth one. A resident of mine who Jill and Ted were so wonderful going out and speaking to them. They can't attend because they're both CPAs and it's their busy time. And they just want to know the height of the wall, which we could not really identify on the plan. So I'll probably just join you if that's okay.
Understood.
Just to sit there and listen and give them back,
Happy to have you.
give them back the information. But they want to be a good neighbor. They just want to know for their own.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
So let me finish up by talking about 4 decisions that were made in the April meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please.
Has Tim looked at any of this?
I have not.
Yeah, because we're talking about a drainage system and garage addition.
Yeah.
We're talking about reducing the front yard setback from 50 feet to 20 feet. I mean, we're creating a lot more impervious space. And most of these people are not talking about creating a drainage system for the.
Although I would say that traditionally, in zoning hearing board cases, if there is an impact on stormwater runoff impervious cover, a typical condition the zoning hearing board would add to the variance would be an obligation to secure a stormwater grading land disturbance permit, which would account for all that.
Well, that's different. That's number 2, application 2412, not the one I'm talking about. So this-
Well, no, they were needed for that also.
I mean, not number 2415, they're also putting in a wall, a retaining wall and a piping system. And also on the plan, we had a difficult time. We can't, with Jill and Ted, and we could not figure out where the drain's going, where the wall, how high the height of the wall. It wasn't defined on the plan.
Yeah.
So that's the whole issue
Yeah, I mean,
with the neighbor.
I'm wondering if we
It's a
want
concern.
to worry about, I mean, as we allow people to continue to build, we are creating more and more water problems for ourselves. I think, anyway.
Just for making sure that we're on the same page for this, if somebody is successful with one of those variance requests, does that negate their need to meet the stormwater obligations through the
No.
permitting process later?
No,
So if they get to go from 25 to whatever greater percentage, they have to accommodate in their stormwater design for any of that extra. Is that correct?
correct.
So that actually should improve the stormwater management in the area instead of making it worse, even though they are building.
Making up for some sins of the past, Joe, yes, that is correct.
And in all practicality, when these projects are being implemented, there often are headaches for neighbors in their implementation because it might not follow the perfect sequencing or whatever it might be. But we try to work with everybody to get progress to the point forward so that those negative impacts are not felt for a longer duration.
Yeah, and does anybody know if the neighbors of Nicholas Lane have a problem with the structure in the front yard?
So the zoning hearing board MPC requirements require us to provide notice to neighbors within 500 feet. Have we heard from anybody?
And it's actually been continued to June again.
Oh, it's being continued again. So that one was on April's agenda, and now it's on May's agenda, and then now it will be on June.
This is 24-10. You're referring to?
Nicholas, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah, just to let you know, also with the application, the number 5, number 2415. The resident of mine, she's higher. And this is Robin Lane and she's on Cardinal. And all the homes on Cardinal are basically so much higher. The water just flows down to the homes on Robin. So it's a de minimis request and it basically, the water just pours down into this poor gentleman's yard. So that's why he's just getting washed out. So that's why he would like this retaining wall. And he's going to put a drain completely around his yard, catch the water and put it out. So he's not completely flooded out.
Without speaking
So-
on behalf of the zoning hearing board, I can say as far as I've been a participant in these meetings, all the questions you're raising, they tend to raise as well.
Yeah.
They tend to ask and make sure that they're considering the full picture and often ask about whether or not neighbors are aware that they are for it or against it. And In some cases, neighbors even come to communicate their on behalf or against. So all the questions you're asking, the hearing board has typically done a good job of considering. But it's a really good point, and it builds on what we talked about last month, right? Thinking about what can we do to make sure we're always talking more comprehensively about stormwater management and, you know, how it impacts our everyday life.
Exactly, and she's hoping, the resident on Cardinal, that they put the wall a few feet up higher, so that it holds, you know what I mean, it goes.
Denise, I
down
don't
to
have a
drain.
problem with that.
Yeah, I know, I'm just telling you.
You're only
Yeah, the other
increasing
one seems,
like 1%.
yeah, the other one does seem a lot more aggressive.
Yeah.
But I'm,
All right, item next.
All right, so let me, I'll finish up and talk about decisions from April. So there were 4 decisions rendered in the April meeting. The first was for application 24-07. This was the application of PERT. They sought a variance to permit 2 signs on 2 Turwood Road parcels, where only 1 was permitted. The variants were granted with the condition that they were removed by January of 2025. The second application, 24-08, this was the application of Lewis Long of 1163 Dilwood Circle. He sought a variance to reduce the rear yard setback from 25 foot to 11 foot to permit construction of an addition. The variance was granted, however, with the condition that the garage architecture be aesthetically consistent with the house. Third, application number 24-09, the application of Catlin and Roxana Cosmo of 3534 Hale Road. They sought a variance to permit a 6-foot tall front yard fence, and similar to the application for this month, is a corner lot, so they had 2 front yards. This variance was denied. And finally, application number 24-11, the application of Ming Quan Zhang of 3736 Pine Road. They sought variances to permit an in-law suite greater than 700 square feet and a second driveway. You might remember we sent a note on behalf of this particular application. This variance was denied.
So my question is on the 4. What happens now since they already illegally did the construction? And what is the enforcement action we take?
Jill, would you be able to comment on that?
So he did come in and met with me and Ted. I think he's going to just not do an in-law suite and they're all just gonna live together. And so we have to go, we have an appointment maybe this week, Friday, to go out, and we're going to go through and show him what he has to open, what he has to fix, what he needs permits for. And then he wants to keep the second driveway, which if it's a single family home, he's allowed to do. But he's over the impervious, so he wants to look at maybe making the bigger driveway a little smaller. And then keeping the second one, so he's working on a bunch of stuff, but we're gonna meet with him to go through what permits he needs.
But he already built the in-law suite.
Right, so he just has to take a wall down.
And then claim it's all one house, and then after it's done, he can put it right back up if he wanted to.
Right, but if we found out, it would be.
Well, he added to the impervious coverage, right? Is that an issue?
No, it was a dentist's office, so they basically turned the dentist portion into, like an apartment.
Yeah, there are a couple of issues at hand. Yeah, one was that an existing structure was converted into an in-law suite. And then in addition to that, there was a second driveway that was added.
They're not allowed to have
There you
an
go.
in-law suite.
And they already over impervious on the whole lot though.
Right, so he's gonna try to reduce that by removing some of the driveway.
Do you know the percentages they're at where compared to where it's
I
allowed right
think he was at, I think he's allowed 30, because I think it's RSD 4, and I think he was at like 40, so he was gonna have to remove a good portion. But so actually, let me correct that, I think it was a non-existing of like 33. That must have been done with the dentist at some point, so when he bought it, it was at 33. So he's at 40, he's gonna bring it down to 33. Because it's an existing non-conformity.
So he did a new curb cut and everything on the
That's what he
streets?
said, that's what we told him, we're like, if you pursue that, you have to do a curb cut, you have to go through PennDOT, you have to do all those things
now?
Currently,
And then that second driveway.
for the second driveway.
Yeah.
And he was told if he can't get the impervious down, then he might also just leave the second driveway, because chances of, you know, he could go back to the zoning hearing board, but it would probably be difficult at that point. They're working with us, I just think it's hard because I don't know why they can't just all be together.
Yeah.
So that's what he's gonna try to do.
Are we allowed to go in the property after do a spot inspection and see if they put the wall back up, or is that illegal, or?
When the permits are final, we would end the permit or closed out. We don't have really the right to do that, but we could always just ask.
Because what you're suggesting is we would have a reason to go into their house.
Yeah, why not?
That is not a local government.
You know,
That we wanna-
Who knows what else is going on in that house?
What's going on in Europe?
Oh, there you go.
They, for those point, the applicant was receptive, they were willing to share everything, they took the, you know, the denial with grace, and so I think they're looking to figure out what the best path forward is.
Right.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and so that will conclude my report. My liaison positions are the zoning hearing board, which I just reported on, and the building code board of appeals, which has not met, so I have no report. And that concludes my agenda for tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Blanton. Next, Chair recognizes Commissioner Hales, Chair of the Public Property Committee. Ruth.
I'm gonna first start with the Lower Moreland Township Authority. There is a current vacancy on the authority board based on recent interviews done by Commissioners CANALE, Blanton, and KURITZ. For other vacant positions, they are suggesting William, usually called Bill, Wyland, to be recommended to fill this position. Does anybody have any questions? The public? Okay, I make a motion to approve resolution number 24-32, appointing William Wyland to the Lower Moreland Township Authority for a term commencing May 15, 2024 and ending May 14, 2029.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2432, appointing William Wyland to the Lower Moreland Township Authority as described. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Motion's passed. Thank you, Commissioners.
As far as my liaison, the one has never met, and you can read in the report, the sewer report. And I have an historical architecture review board, like I just said, has not met. So I completed my agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Hales. Next, the Chair recognizes Commissioner Page, Chair of the Public Works Committee. Joe.
Thank you, President Kurtz. First,
We kind of skipped what Steve's report.
Okay, back to Steve.
Include this.
Yeah,
I'm about to go to anyway. Public Works.
Go ahead, yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay.
Joe,
Yeah,
Commissioner Mason.
Right on back to Public Works. Steve.
Go ahead. Oh, I just got confused.
I'll just go with one sewer reminder always, slow, gurgling, anything with your toilet, your spigot, whatever, always calls, especially spring. Everything's blooming, we get a lot of roots, so we've had about 5 calls in the last 3 weeks. One clog was ours on Philmont Avenue, we took care of it, but the other ones we helped out the resident. All of them were roots, so the roots get into the line, especially in spring, everything started to bloom, they clog it up, so. Anytime you have a slow drain, gurgle, anything, calls, we'll love to come out. Check it, make sure it's not ours.
And with
Never
permission,
sure.
we'll go into the house.
We'll see what we can.
I asked if it was legal.
For Public Works, our street sweeping, we've been through the whole township at least once. We'll start over again, and then we're gonna get through a lot of our clogged inlets. We're compiling a list now. And we will take care of the state roads. You know, we're running out ours. We will sweep all our state roads and do some of the inlets that are clogged there. I work with PennDOT maintenance with that. As far as our paving, I talk to our contractor weekly. We are next on their list. They have one township, so he right now said 2 weeks. But probably safer to say June. So June, he should be in town to start our paving projects.
Steve, when do you estimate Buck Road still being in June, you think?
That would be June, yeah. Yeah, so within 2 weeks.
Just want to make sure I'm getting phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
All the rain, just.
Yeah, so there's one township in front of us, they're finishing up now, and every time, rain, they dispatch their schedule up, so.
Okay.
For the paving, is there a schedule of like suggested dates? Because I know there was a bunch that were in my ward and just wondering, how they're communicated to the residents that.
So I'll hand out letters this week. We'll hand out to all the residents that are being paid, that, this is coming. And then, Glasgow's very good at they'll post signs
a day, 2 days before the dates. And once the schedule's finalized, when they're coming in, they'll tell me where they want to start to move around. I would prefer to do Buck Road first and move that way, but they might start just before I'm.
Yeah, if there's a schedule that you could share. with
Yeah,
the
as soon as they
commissioners,
come in, they'll give us a date.
And then maybe
with
just
the
share
tentative
with us
schedule.
so that we're aware of like.
And I give the EJ, and it'll be posted on the website.
At this point, they might as well wait till school's out for Buck Road and all, you know what I mean? Seriously. It's an extra 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
We sold some vehicles, I noted that, I know, it's, everything we buy is expensive, so it's always nice that when we get a return on stuff, we got $8,000 for the chipper, and I think it was $6,500 for an old Explorer, so that's always nice. We had our first of 2 annual deep cleans at the turf, we contract that out, they come out with a metal detector, they pick up all kinds of metal, I don't really know where it comes from, but there's always metal in the turf that they pull out. And they did the G-Max test this time, so we do that once a year for the falls. But a concerned resident called me about a hazardous tree in Ridgeway. Thank goodness Bill was walking there and he happened to see it, so they would go down, tape it off, and we cut it down the next day. As for storm sewers, the Longview Basin should be done next week. We received all the equipment for the Opti system and the valve. The planning should all be done next week. He's about halfway done that. The weather's kind of holding him back. But that should be done next week. If you haven't been over yet, it really looks nice. And next month we'll have some pictures before we're doing the final project.
What's the pond sprinkler you got on?
That Avenue?
Yeah.
I'll get them in, I'll get them in this month.
Alright.
As soon as I can get out there, we'll get them.
I was just curious.
Yeah, but we try to get them in as soon as it morning.
Okay.
Pico was out yesterday too on Buck Road, because I saw them putting some utility.
Yeah, they had they had 2 gas leaks they needed to fix before we paid, so they're kind of pushing them to get that done. And then they were doing some pole replacements on right away in between Long Lane and Alexander.
Okay,
So they were actually doing 2 projects.
Sure. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
I want to thank working with Dave. It's been a pleasure. Remember when he was a rookie? Believe it or not, I've been here longer than him, but it's been a pleasure, Dave, and good luck.
Thanks, Steve.
No short joke, finish it, come on.
I need to try
to grow up.
Item T liaison is HVA right now, baseball, there's a couple more weeks left. They did cancel the Friday night game, as Denise said earlier. There's no new date. I just talked to the commissioner yesterday. He said that they're probably not gonna do it all together because they're behind on makeup games. Just because the weather has been the best. Soccer's finishing up. There's a couple teams that are advancing in the state cups. One's actually my son's 2015 team. They're in the semifinal Saturday out in Harrisburg. So wish them luck. And basketball tryouts is in June
For travel.
for travel. And that's it.
Sorry.
Thank you, Commissioner Pace. Okay, that concludes our agenda items for this evening. We now have public participation on non-agenda items. If anyone would like to address the board.
Can I start?
Sure.
We did mention tonight the Memorial Day little ceremony that they always have. It's at the library, usually around 11 o'clock in the morning. On Memorial Day. So it's a lovely, I'll bring flags and flowers.
Okay, and sure. Want to state your name and address in the record, even though we know who you are.
Yeah, this
Very much. We still need it on the record.
Mark George Gal Rosen. This is minor, but I wanted to put it on record. My favorite topic, Western development. The east end emergency exit that goes to Red Line Road had been open for at least a month. And used as a thoroughfare for that period of time. it goes back, I think it was initially opened when we had some flooding and then the water main break. Used as a thoroughfare. And it's more than employees. So it, as of this morning, it was closed, but it was open for that length of time. So my question is, who polices that? But who takes charge of making sure that these gates are in the position that they're supposed to be in?
Didn't we talk about this before, that it was their?
Gate.
That's the gate on the other side, okay. So this is the one.
Another gate.
This is a chain link, closed signage. And it's the intent.
We'll look into that, Mr. DeGeorge, and we'll get back to you. I love calling you.
Okay,
So we'll find out.
all right.
We'll get you the
Okay.
answer.
That's good. Well, not only that, a little enforcement. I mean, why did it do
We'll take
that?
care of it. You know what
Yeah, I know, but why did it? No one spotted that except a citizen?
Did you report it?
No.
Yeah.
Got it.
You notice it?
You have to feel, yeah, I know. So that's why I'm using the public comment section of this meeting. I'm duly reporting it now.
We'll find out.
So, all right, thanks.
Okay,
Yeah, he said.
okay.
Charlie took care of it right away, right out.
Fire Marshal.
Already took care of it. Yeah, Mark, good job. Already resolved.
Thank you.
For you.
Thank you, Fire Marshal Charlie. There's your.
Thank you.
He knows all about it. He took care of it. Thank you, Fire Marshal. Anyone else? Anyone else in the room like to address the board for public comment? Anyone on Zoom?
No.
Thank you very much. Good evening and have a great night.
Congratulations.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good
You
night.
made a lot of money.